Welcome back to Moko Plays Satisfactory. Last episode, we built a smart plating production line here and set those up to feed into our space elevator. We left that ticking over. That was kind of the last thing that we accomplished last time. And in the meantime, I've just been doing a little bit of world exploration, found a few more unlockables and that sort of thing. And we're now full of smart plates over there, so we are ready to send our first package of goods off into space, and that'll get us into the next tier of unlocks and the next phase of the game. So yeah, let's start things off with a bang. Hey, this thing has a new UI. This looks fancier.
Welcome to the Project Assembly Pioneer Progress presentation. Congratulations, the Phase 1 project part shipment is now ready for delivery. On delivery, Phase 1 will be completed and the distribution platform will be constructed. After completion of Phase 1, the technologies of Tiers 3 and 4 will become available in the hub. Highlights are automated power, steel production, personnel transportation, and many more. Completing Phase 2 of Project Assembly is your next main objective. New project parts will need to be produced and delivered to the space elevator as you have done previously. Continue to construct, automate, explore and exploit for a better fix-it future.
That's pretty smart, actually, kind of going, hey, you're about to have the capability to unlock a whole bunch of stuff, but here are the ones you should really be caring about. And also don't lose sight of the fact that there's a next phase to this space elevator stuff. Yeah, I like that. That's neat.
Phase 1 of Project Assembly completed. This is only the beginning of Project Assembly, the first step towards saving the day. You have performed adequately so far. Reminder, not only is Fix-It saving humanity, it is saving all of Earth, including kittens and puppies. It is statistically likely that you appreciate the continued existence of kittens and/or puppies. Continue the work for their sake. Continue the work for Fix-It. It is time to start the work on Phase 2 of Project Assembly.
So one, yes, I feel seen. And two, it's really neat that you see this thing expanding itself up there. That's like mechanically in the scheme of things, that's such a small change, but does a lot to make it feel like we're not just, you know, shoving stuff into the box and hitting the lever and then never thinking about it again. And makes me curious what happens at the end game as well. I don't know if it's realistic to think maybe we'll end up going up there, but that would be a pretty neat reward for getting there. Cool. Well, that's yeah, we've got a whole bunch of other stuff left to take a look at now, so let's head over to our hub and see what we've got access to. I mentioned towards the end of last episode that we're struggling a little bit on power. We're not redlining, but we're, you know, if all machines were running at once for whatever reason, would be within a stone's throw of going over capacity. And yeah, it would be nice to just have more power in general and to not have to think about collecting leaves and wood and stuff and feeding that in. So I'm hopeful that there's something by way of coal power or similar early on in the next set of unlocks here. Which it still is. Cool. Yeah, I thought coal power was previously like very early on in tiers 3 and 4. So nice that that's the next thing we can be aiming for. Having done some exploring and knowing where I think our nearest coal is, I'm also pretty stoked by the idea of getting the Xenobasher and some more inventory slots as well. I'm so used to playing in passive mode that it's actually been a bit of a challenge going into some areas not too far from here where the enemies are more demanding. It would be nice to get a leg up in terms of that stuff. So I think we'll prioritize those two as things to unlock. Yeah, cool. We can unlock that with stuff that we all already have, so that's all good. Neat. Well, I just need a quick trip to storage to get the required parts for this, and then we'll come and drop those in. So, BRB. Okay, so we've got all of this stuff, and that means that we can get some coal.
Milestone reached. Power production can now be fully automated by burning coal, which has been added to the resource scanner. Water is also necessary to run the coal-powered generator and will require a network of pipelines to be transported from a water source. To assist with locating and identifying water, Fixit has compiled this guide. Water is a somewhat reflective liquid with vegetation growing nearby. To test if something is water, try touching it. If it is not solid and does not corrode your suit, it is probably water.
Well, I mean, you know, we're going to find oil before too long. I don't think oil's corrosive. And alumina solution? Not so sure about that. Neat. Well, we could, look at vehicles. We could look at basic steel. We're going to want all of this. I definitely think it will pay dividends having access to this before we actually head over and get coal. Blueprints will be nice before we do our next really big build. It would be good to have blueprints on hand, and faster belts and better storage. I just want all of this stuff, as it turns out. But yeah, I think priorities for now are going to be the enhanced asset security, and then after that, probably blueprints, and then we'll see where we land. But yeah, I think given that I had a slightly challenging time running over there and running into the stuff that's guarding the coal that's nearby, what I'm going to do is just to do some collect some leaves and stuff and just kill a bit of time while this pod comes back. We'll unlock this next milestone, build the Xenobasher, and then we'll make sure we've got everything we need to go over there and do our first coal setup. So let's pause there and check back in when we're able to unlock the asset security. Okay, our freighter's back, so we can go ahead and unlock that next tier now.
Milestone reached. The Xenobasher is a direct upgrade from the Xenozapper. In the words of the engineer that first developed this tool, quote, "The zapper kind of electrocutes things, the basher straight up smacks stuff, while also electrocuting them," unquote. It is beneficial during encounters with aggressive fauna and has been tested thoroughly. The engineer's noble sacrifice for human research will not be forgotten, whoever they were.
Yes, they walked so we could run, I guess. Cool. So what do we need? We need two zappers. And more wire. Neat. Nice. Okay, that should help even the odds a bit. Well, something else I did want to do, actually, was to take a look at what we can get from the awesome shop. We've been syncing cables for a while here now. So yeah, worth taking a look, because as well as like cosmetics and design stuff in here, there are also things that can help with navigation and with some of the functional side of building. As well as a bunch of stuff that I'm not really sure what it's for. The boombox is like I think it's like a combat thing as well as a background music thing. I don't know. We'll take a look at that at some point. What's useful? Lifts and ceiling mounts, definitely. Wall power outlets, definitely. Signs, definitely. Conveyor wall's like kind of handy. Let's see how many we've spent. Ladder's super useful for getting around. Cool, and then we can spend on parts if we really need to, if we want to get to a tier to unlock it early. This isn't the best for like just the economics of it, what it takes to unlock coupons. The requirements per coupon like go up over time, so it's not like you can just keep syncing cables and always walk back after a couple of hours and get, you know, 5 extra tickets or whatever. That it's diminishing returns. So we do want to be a little bit careful about what we spend when it comes to the consumables anyway, which are the parts. Obviously the unlocks are, you know, like a one-time cost. Cool.
Where did you leave your lizard doggos? What's in this storage container? Where did you put the essential components needed to save humanity? Do you wish there was text to prevent you from constantly taking the wrong turn? Disguise your struggles to comprehend the complexity of your surroundings with signs.
I wonder if I missed a bunch of flavor dialogue by buying multiple things at once there. I guess there's not any input for every little thing. Cool. I think that's kind of all we desperately need. Getting some lights isn't gonna hurt at some point. And the concrete foundation is quite nice to have as well because it looks kind of cool, and also I'm pretty sure it means that you can build foundations just with concrete. Whereas at the minute we're using a mix of concrete and iron plates, and concrete like stacks much bigger than iron plates do, so I think that's probably worth getting now actually. As well as, you know, it'll just give us like an extra option for cosmetics. Cool. We'll probably leave the rest and check in on that at a later point. So what we really want to do now is just make sure that we've got the stuff we need before we head all the way off to coal. We need coal, and it needs to be nearby water. Now I've already found where I think I'm going to do this, which is this location over here. There's at least a couple of coal seams. A couple more than I thought over there, actually. Which is good. And obviously there's a ton of water nearby. It's not too far from the base either. Tempting to potentially do it over here where there's pure coal, but I just don't really know the lay of the land there, so I think we'll head here and do the build as planned, get our first initial coal power up and running here, and then we can look at this when we need to start to use coal for other things like steel. So yes, we need to make sure we've got the equipment we need. So to do a basic coal build, assuming nothing's changed about ratios here, we'll need 3 water extractors, and we'll combine that with 8 coal generators. And then we'll need, you know, like pipes and cables and foundations and stuff like that. We need to make sure we're taking plenty of copper sheets because that's what the pipelines are made of as well. Yeah, so I'm just going to drop a few things off in personal storage here that we don't necessarily need to take with us. And then I'll just make sure that I've got the basics in inventory. So, you know, like concrete for foundations and cables for power and copper sheets for running pipelines. And then we'll have a run down towards coal and see what that looks like. Okay, so here we are over near where our coal node is, which is just on the other side of this river. There's a couple of normal coal nodes there, and obviously we've got a lot of water to work with as well, so that's pretty good. Last time I was over here, while I was exploring, I built this little bridge across just to make the access a little bit easier. And I ran power down from our main base on my way down here, so that once we get things up and running, we can hook it straight in to our grid. Now, last time I was over here, I got pretty solidly attacked from all sides. There was a big old spider that came from this direction over here and kind of tried to launch himself at my head. He did miss and go in the water, so I don't know if that means he's gone back to his spawn location or what, but I am being wary while I come across here. And the other thing to be aware of is over by the coal node there are a few hogs. I did succeed in getting them penned in at one point, built them this nice little zoo habitat, but I'm pretty sure they have respawned on the coal node. You can see them over there. So yeah, I know that with enemies in this game, if you clear them out by killing them, they will eventually respawn, unless you placed a powered machine down on or near their spawn point. So I'm curious what will happen if we are able to trap these guys. If we then place the miner down on these nodes, will that prevent them from respawning, and therefore will they just live in their nice little home here? I don't know. I'm curious. If we can make it happen, then we should. And if it's us or them, if it comes down to fisticuffs, then I guess we'll just have to take them on. This guy looks like he's a little bit stuck, but no, he's not. Oh, jeez. I'm hoping if I can lure them up here, I can then get them to Dark Souls themselves off this ledge. Like so, although he actually fell outside the pen. There. Let's see if we can coax this guy. No, it looks like their AI does not let them leap off a ledge. Oh, it does. Great. Well, that's one down. But this guy, are we able to just do this? Yes, nice. Cool. Well, enjoy your new home, guys. There's, you know, I left some toys and some food in there, and there's water for you to have a little swim and a little drink. So, hopefully you'll be very happy down there. Meanwhile, I'm going to get some miners down on this coal resource because we need it. Okay, yeah, just need some portable miners. Oh, and my inventory's full. Okay, I should just be able to drop a couple of things here. So I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to feed the coal, but it's going to be vaguely in that direction. So we need coal and we need water. We need to combine those two things. In general, solid resources are easier to move around, less of a logistic challenge. Excuse me. For one, you don't have to worry about verticality. It's as easy to run a conveyor lift or a belt uphill as it is to go downhill, whereas gravity in Satisfactory enacts on fluids, so you have to care about things like head lift and use pumps to combat against it when you want to move water upwards. So yeah, my general way for doing this build is to get my water extractors obviously down at the level of the water, which looks great, incidentally. This has definitely had a graphical, an animation overhaul, and looks really good now. So yeah, generally have the water extractors down there, lift it up to a platform that sits above those, and that's what I find to be kind of the best use of space. It means that we can just, you know, spam water extractors all around this area now that it's a place where we've got infrastructure, like having foundations and access and power and stuff. So to not build at ground level, because that's space that we could put more water extractors down and probably will want to in future. So the way I would generally do something like this is drop a ramp down to ground level and then build a platform that's going to run like alongside where our water extractors are going to be. This should work okay. And then, yeah, water extractors and pipes and stuff. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll notice I've got my hotbar, and that's pretty full now. But by holding Alt and scrolling my mouse, you've actually got up to 10 hotbars. So I tend to use one for basic building and the second one for fluids and that sort of thing. So we'll make sure we've got basic pipes on there. We'll pop the junction on there and the supports and the pump. And then you can have the same item across multiple hotbars, so I always make sure I've got power on too. That's just kind of muscle memory for me now to use that way. So water extractors, we want 3 of them to provide enough water for 8 coal power plants, and that should tally up with the fact if we're tapping 2 normal coal nodes over there, that's 120 coal. Each power plant takes 15 coal and 45 water, so that's the ratio that works out, is 3 water extractors to 8 power plants. Positioning the water extractors can be a little finicky sometimes. The easiest way that I've found to do it is to use the pipeline junction to guide where we want the water extractor to be. For my build, it wants to be in the middle of a tile and then 1 tick further towards us, I think. Hopefully I'm remembering this right. I might just do a little test here, actually, just to make sure I'm not misremembering. Where we're going to have our coal extractors is like this. Like this. And
Interesting, most pioneers already had coal power set up by this point because they understood
wow.
humanity. Adjusting pioneer attitude metrics. Reminder, coal power generators require coal.
Okay, thanks for that. I'm just getting negged by my AI assistant over here. What I'm looking to do is to make sure that we've got enough space for the lift. I run the coal down the center of the build and lift it over the top of the power generators. And so I want to make sure that if this is where our pipe junction is, that gives us enough space to go past without the pipes clipping into the lift. Yes.
Fixit pipelines can contain any fluid, including the water necessary for coal-powered generators. Note: water does not flow upwards by itself. While water extractors provide some lift, to truly defy gravity, consider the use of pipeline pumps.
So yeah, as I was saying, to place the water extractors, I line it up with the center of a junction like this, and then move it, just kind of inch it forward, and go to the point where it starts soft clipping like that. And then this should give us a nice pipeline in, like so.
Try submerging your arm. If it does not dissolve, that will narrow down the range of possibilities. Or you could just pipe it to a coal-powered generator and see what happens.
And then once you've placed one water extractor, usually if you hold control, they'll snap nicely, and it should put this, the outlet kind of right in the middle of the tile. And let us just copy this build, make sure that's in line with both. And then do the same thing again. Cool. These will need power, and I'm going to drop one power line per water extractor, because we will also need to power the pumps we're going to be lifting up to a level above this. And we'll need to have 2 pipes running upward. The reason for that is these water extractors will extract up to 120 meters cubed per minute. We've got 3 of those, so that's 360 that we're running, and that's as much as we want for 8 power plants. But the Mark 1 pipelines can only carry 300. So it's the same sort of limitation we were running into with belt throughput. And the solution for that is to have multiple points at which we move the water on and up into our build where it's going to start to be consumed. So this one's spitting out 120 and will lift at this end. This one's spitting out 120 and will lift it up at this end. And then the middle one, it's going to come out here and be split. So it's going to send 60 this way and 60 this way. So no section of the pipe should have more than the 300 meters cubed that it can carry. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to want to do is to build ourselves a platform for getting all of these coal power plants. And it needs to be a fair old size. What we're going to do is build 8 power plants down over in this direction, so sort of running down this way. We'll be using this middle lane here to feed the coal down, and then later on when we want to scale the build out even more, we'll add more water extractors below and have another run of 8 power plants going this way. But they are fairly chunky buildings. They take about 1.5 tiles in width, which means that we, can kind of offset them in the same way that we can with the assemblers. So the platform does have to be a fair old size. This is probably slightly too big, but at least means we're not going to run out of space midway through the build. Now we are going to have to run some pipes upwards. We know that spacing's okay. What I'm going to do is just run them up through the floor for the moment, and then when I get back to base and can grab my tickets, I'll unlock the pipe floor holes. I was reading up on those, and it seems like they do still have some issues, but people seem to kind of understand what the issues are and how to work around them. In terms of them, essentially they like stop the fluid from being transported upwards sometimes if you place them in a way that seems valid, but the game doesn't consider to be valid. So it seems like we should be able to work around them. So we'll just clip the pipes through the floor for the moment, and then we'll come back and make them look pretty after the fact. So yeah, our first lift is going to be here, so we'll have our first coal power plant starting from this tile. And spacing wise, I run them right up to the edge of the join between these tiles, and then this run here, this is for, we're going to run the coal down here and power and stuff, and then when we're ready to scale the build by doubling it, we'll put another coal power plant facing the other direction over here. So there'll be a run of water extractors down underneath this lane here, and then when we need to scale it even more, we can head over this side and extend and do pretty much the same thing under here. So yeah, we need 8 of these things. We space them every 1.5 tiles, so it's probably easier from the other side actually. It's a little bit more obvious where the middle of the generator is. Okay, so we want our junction to be in line with the input and to be 1 tick. That way. And we'll just have a straight line of these running down, 1 in front of every pipe input. And we're going to lift at this location. There are different pipe build modes as well. This one makes it look like a nice kind of 90-degree-ish angle while it's going up over. We'll move this ramp out of the way and stuff so that it's not clipping through that later. Okay, so yeah, one of the challenges with doing this, getting started with fluids and with these coal generators, is you need to fill them with water from a fluid transport system, and you need to fill them with coal from a solids transport system. And if you're doing anything like this where they're in a row with each other, you've got to figure out how you handle the logistics of that. A lot of people will kind of run a, you know, if you've got foundations coming down here, a lot of people like run a belt along here and lift it up, and then have lifts kind of take it in from that side, or they'll lift the belts up and lift the pipes up, sorry, and run belts underneath, or what have you. My preferred way of doing it is to use conveyor lifts here, and if we lift them up 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks, and turn them that way, that puts them at the right height, that clears the top of the generator, like kind of body itself. It soft clips through the bounding box, but you can run the belt over the top here. Maybe it's 5 ticks, maybe that's not enough. And have the coal fed in through here. And there's a couple of reasons for doing that. One, it makes life nice and easy to do the belt work and the pipe work and keep the two out of each other's way. Yeah, it was 4 ticks, there we go. Second, I think it looks pretty cool once we've got the entire build set up. And third, excuse me, third, what it allows us to do is, when we've unlocked the next tier of belts, to just have one central line running down here that feeds these 8. We unlock and upgrade those to level 3 belts, and then we can add the the symmetrical build on this side and just run it all off the same belt, which is, it makes the upgrade, like, you know, quicker, and, you know, we can just overclock the miners on those coal nodes, or add extra coal nodes to the same line or whatever. So it's, you know, fairly efficient. I just generally like this build. I think it's neat and easy to set up once you know where to position the junctions in relation to the coal generators and how many ticks up it is, which is 4 ticks up from the default, and that equates to 5 splitters high to run the central line. Hopefully that made sense. So yeah, for every one of these, we'll just do the same thing. Go up 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks high with the conveyor lift. And the one other thing that we need to do is we need to lift up from the other side here. So above this one, we want another pipe junction. That actually needs to be in the center, which is going to be slightly challenging, I guess. Yeah, it's going to be too close to that one to have 2 in such close sequence. So I think instead what we'll do is extend a pipe down to have it meet up with this one here. Like so. And that should work just fine. And then just need to make sure these are all connected. There's no way I'm going to get that in the right input from here. I'll go over there and do that in a sec. And we also need to make sure that we are adding our pipeline pumps here. So these need power. They can pump upwards or they can pump downwards. That's just one thing to be aware of. You just scroll wheel to rotate there. You click once to place it, and then you can rotate the actual body of the thing. And while it's in this mode, you should get an indicator that shows, like, is it giving you enough head lift or not, which in this case it definitely is. We're not that high up. You get a small amount of head lift from the water extractors themselves. I think it's like 10 feet or something like that, and then the pumps can pump it 20 feet each, something along those lines. Don't necessarily quote me on those figures, but essentially, you know, stick one on the pipe and, you know, give it a look and see if the indicator is doing what you expect it to do. If this was a longer run of pipe, it would go so far up, and then the blue indicator would kind of stop. And when you go to place your next pump, it would snap to that location, so that they do help you out a little bit. And so if we're powered that right, we should see all of these start to spin up and the lights on these go green, and we should overload our power grid, which is not great. And we should see water start to come up here if they were in fact being given power, which obviously they're not at the moment. So we'll come back to that in a moment. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to make sure these are all getting coal. And so the way we do that is just in the middle of this tile, middle as in this way, left and right. And then at the center of each coal generator, drop down our splitter, and we go 5 high. And we run a main line down, which in this case needs to be a level 2 belt. And then we just run a single belt over to the lift, like that. And we just rinse and repeat that all the way down. And then, as I say, when we get to the point where we can upgrade this belt, we can pop some more coal generators on the other side and run everything off the one central line nice and easily. Okay, I think we're about ready to flip the switch on this thing. So I've ran a Mark 1 belt from each of these miners down into this merger here, and then this Mark 2 belt goes back to our power plant. I've been back to base to temporarily disconnect everything from my power grid except for the stuff we're doing over here. So off our biomass burners now, the only stuff that's running should be the machines in our coal power plant. So hopefully once we hook these guys up, we should see some coal coming out, and we should be able to go and take a look down at our coal generator run, where hopefully they're getting water and coal. So let's go and see how that's looking. It's a good idea when you're doing a coal build like this to turn on the water generators first, just to make sure that you are getting water up to the things that consume them. Fluids in general are a bit more finicky due to, as we were talking about, kind of the fact that gravity has an impact on fluids. But you can tell just by like opening up a pipe like this, you can see that this one is nice and full. You've also got these visual indicators here. If there was flow, you would see these rings animating. We'll start to see that in a little bit. But as it stands, the internal water buffers of each of these seem like they're probably full now as well, which is good. We should see coal coming down here relatively soon. You can see it's making its way there. So we just need to make sure that we're going to lift this up and connect it where it needs to be. And so the coal's going to run down the center line here, and it's going to be split off to each power plant. Each of these wants 45 water per minute, and I'm pretty sure it's 15 coal. Hope I've got that right. It should tell us in a sec here once it starts to fuel up. Yeah, 15 coal per minute. And so we should have everything that we need here. We've got 8 power plants consuming 15 coal per minute, so that's our 120 coal from those 2 normal coal nodes. And we've got 8 power plants consuming 45 water per minute is 360, which we get from our 3 water extractors. And that's the magic 3:8 ratio when it comes to water and coal power plants. You can see the lights here starting to go green, so these guys are now generating power. So we should just be able to go back to our base and reconnect the power grid that I disconnected to get this up and running. And you can see we've got this thing spiking as it's starting to, you know, it's got coal and then it doesn't have coal and then it does, kind of machine by machine. But what we should have here with 8 coal generators is 75 megawatts. Times 8, 600 from these, and we've still got the 330 from all our biomass burners. And the biomass burners will essentially become our buffer for power going forward, because they only run when something's drawing on them, whereas the coal generators, once they've got saturated with fuel and water, they'll run all the time. So we're always going to be generating 600. If we add machines to the point where we go over that 600 threshold, the biomass burners will kick in so long as they've got fuel in them. And that gives us enough of a buffer that we hopefully should not trip the power grid too much. So yeah, all told, pretty happy with this build. There's a couple of little cosmetic things to tidy up, and I need to reconnect the power grid. So I'll do a little bit of that stuff, and then we'll go back and look at what's next. Okay, back at base here, and just getting ready to connect everything back. So this should be everything back on one power grid, unless I've done something stupid. Cool. So you can see we're producing an even 600. So all of our power plants at this point have like kind of evened out, and they're all receiving water and coal. We're currently drawing 360-ish from that. If all machines were running, we'd be drawing about 500 of that. So we've still got a bit of headroom. And then you can see the capacity is that much higher, up at 930, because we've got the buffer there of our biomass, which is very nice. So long as we've got fuel in those guys, then they can just sit there ready to take the extra load if we do add too many machines and go over capacity. Looks like maybe these guys don't have much fuel left in them, so I'll probably do one more run of collecting leaves and getting these like topped up with biofuel, and then they can just sit there as a bit of a safety net when it comes to power. Yeah, that's the big thing that I wanted to get done today, really. What have we got in terms of milestones? So steel production, I guess, is going to be the next thing to look at, or blueprints. We'll probably go blueprints. Maybe just spend some tokens in the shop to unlock these steel beams to get the blueprint designer, because then it means that we can use blueprints in future builds, including that steel production build. But I'll give that some thought, and we'll pick that up next time. So yeah, that's as good a time as any to call it an episode. Thanks as always for joining us on this little journey through Satisfactory, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Cheers.